Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. I've had a chance on this channel to do a ton of different tonneau covers for pickup trucks, and I've reviewed up from the cheapest fabric covers to the most expensive electronic roll-up covers. This one is actually a new cover from Peragon. It is called the Tectonic. It's up there in price, but today we're going to go through unboxing, which is quite the experience in and of itself, install, some water tests at the car wash, and overall just general impressions on this cover. First, I had to remove my old cover, which is the BAK X4TS, which is by far my favorite cover that I've ever reviewed on this channel. I still would highly recommend it. I don't have any affiliation with Peragon. They did send this out to me for a review, but otherwise, I have no affiliate codes, no discount codes, no anything. When I did one of their covers a long time ago, they gave me a coupon code, and then after a week or so, I started getting comments saying that code wasn't working, and it just ended up being a whole thing. So I'm not doing any coupon codes. You can go to their website, check it out, and decide for yourself whether you choose to buy it or not. So let's talk installation. Let the clock start now. Clean the bulkhead for the seal. This truck does have a factory bed liner. One thing all these covers have is these like little tiny alcohol wipes. Be nice if they found a way to do it like with a much larger like alcohol rag almost.
Consuela, does this rag smell like chloroform?
No.
This is a nice big seal here. All right. We will cut that to length. They label the sides. This says D for driver's side. Grab a 1/2-inch socket. Oh, this is actually nice. There's actually little notches in here that tell you where to put the clamps. It tells you 13 foot-pounds. Now there's a lot cheaper torque wrenches out there on the market. I'll link some on Amazon. This is certainly overkill for what it is I'm doing here. But I have that because I've get myself into some other things that I wanted a nicer torque wrench for. Highly unnecessary for this project. All right, onto the passenger side, I believe. This is kind of a chore getting this gasket to seat. There we go. You just don't want that gasket to be folded under anywhere. These clamps are actually really nice too. They've got it on a bit of a swivel there. It's the first time I think I've seen a design like that. Normally they kind of, if you screw it out too far, it'll kind of fall apart. So these are actually really nice clamps. Whoever engineered those, it kind of sucks itself down a little bit too. I tend to, when I do these tonneau covers, just kind of torque it to feel, but for something that's designed to hold 400 pounds of weight, I think it's important to get that right. I'll be interested to see how it is to stand on this thing, and yes, I will stand on it. Although I weigh slightly under 400 pounds. All right, now we're setting the cover on the rails. It's pretty easy. If you're paying anybody to do these installs on these covers, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but they're easy. That is until you get into some of the electric ones. The electric ones can be a bit more of a bear. Enormous. Zip ties. I don't think I've ever seen a zip tie like this before. This thing is a monster. Oh, nice. That just pulls right off. You really got this thing in here. So this will be the front panel. This should probably come up. Perfect. This thing feels pretty beefy, not gonna lie. This is a substantial cover. Okay, so the tall hinges go towards the window. And this is a serious piece of equipment here. Oh, okay, that'll drop. No? Oh, okay. Okay, I got you. There we go. Definitely don't have the right rolling going on here. These rollers, I've got kind of a lot of wiggle room here, so I want these rollers to be a little bit tighter. So we'll lock that and adjust these rollers. So they have some holes here that adjust the tightness. We'll go one in on each side. We're getting closer. I'll have to adjust the other side. All right, let's see how much better that is. So this should roll much smoother now. Way better. We'll say adjusting those rollers, that is time consuming, but not difficult. All right, so those rollers are adjusted. Tailgate panel will be this one. Just go at a 90-degree angle. Easy enough. That just latched down. That is a pretty solid unit. Fold that up. Place the cab panel. All right, so this should drop right on here. And it does. And we are installed. Definitely the most crazy cover I've ever had. Oh, that actually closes all right. I was a little bit worried about how that would close, but that's actually a pretty good seal. I was afraid I would have to open this to close it, but that is not the case. The only thing I don't like so far, which maybe this is on purpose, I doubt it, this is not level. How or why that is, I don't totally know. I don't know if they're doing that because no, that's not right. Peel that plastic. That is definitely not supposed to be crooked like that. Can we fix that? Let's find out. This will drive me insane. Well, not gonna save that, but I was not gonna leave that on either because that would drive me absolutely insane seeing that all the time. That's a bummer. Did not want to debrand it, but it's also aluminum, so I can't just retape it. That thing being on there crooked would have drove me insane. So if you buy this, you can remove that also, I suppose. This cover did claim a 30-minute no drill install. It was close. I got to about 43 minutes or so. Would have been in that 30-minute range, but having to adjust the rollers to get it to kind of roll appropriately was kind of its own thing. Furthermore, it was 43 minutes for the install, and the tearing apart of that crate that they shipped it in took another 40 minutes. So that was quite the process in and of itself. And they do tell you, for warranty purposes, that if you are going to send it back for any reasons, they're going to charge you if you don't have that original packaging, which I don't know who has the space to store that thing. For me, it was the moment that I installed it, it had to go. So I did tear that thing down, and it took quite a while. Kudos to whoever at Peragon decided to come up with that whole system, because it is the most well thought out packaging for a tonneau cover I've ever seen on this channel. Some might even call it overkill, but very well protected. So install wasn't really all that difficult. I think pretty much anybody who has basic tools can pretty much get it accomplished. But let's talk waterproof. We're going to run this thing through the car wash, and I'll show you guys in a moment how it performs. But I do not ever run these tailgate seals because I prefer my truck beds to breathe for reasons such as gas cans or anything else that might actually have like a stench or explosive gas. I don't want to have that trapped in the bed, so I like my tailgates to breathe. You can run this weather stripping around the tailgate, seal a lot of that stuff off. Also, with these multi-pro tailgates from GM, you actually have additional sealing that can be done around there, because this is an area where I actually had some water penetration. And I posted a separate video of the entire water test. I'll link it in the description down below. You can go and check all of that out and just 360 with your phone, look around the entire bed and see for yourself where it does and does not leak. But all in, I was incredibly impressed with the water test on this thing. Now, the reason for the water test being so high performing is because the way they've engineered this, there's, as far as I can tell, nowhere water's going to get in. You can see these 3 little rivets here that are indented in this weather stripping. This weather stripping is just so thick, I mean an inch tall, and basically sealing off that whole thing. But you also have this little lip here, so even if water were to get in between that weather stripping, it's not dropping down below that panel overlay there anyways, so it's going to be fine. I also had no water get in around the sides of the bed here, and also it was sealed very well up here at the bulkhead. So overall, very impressed with that performance on the water penetration. Now, a couple of things that, I've said this before in other videos. Every cover is going to have a trade-off. Every design has compromise. With this kind of cover, one thing I find sort of annoying, but I'm actually happy with how they sort of address that in this cover, is that it is kind of frustrating when this stuff is all locked. You can see this one is currently not locked, because it's really kind of a pain, I'm trying to do this one-handed, to really kind of have to get in here and always have your keys on you. What they did with this cover to address that, which I like, and I didn't really notice this until after the fact, is there is a safety latch here. One of those situations where if somebody were to get stuck in the back of the truck, there's a glow-in-the-dark safety latch where you can actually come in here and push it or pull it, and it will open that latch up and override the lock itself. They also have a nice little plate here so that people can't, in theory, just get like a coat hanger up in there and push it in, but I suppose they could if they knew it was there, but most people aren't going to try to do something like that. If they can't get into it, they're going to move on to the next thing. That's always been my take on tonneau covers, is that it's really more of a deterrent. If somebody sees this, they're just going to move on. Thieves are opportunistic. They're not necessarily, unless they know that you have something of value in there, going to spend a bunch of time trying to get into something. In terms of the finish on this thing is ridiculous. They're actually saying this is like a 2-stage process of a powder coat and a truck bed cover that goes on over top of it. They call it their FusionKOTE, and from what I can tell, it seems like it's probably going to hold up very well over time. One thing I will mention here as I look through the spec, 0 space lost. We're going to talk about that in a moment, which I suppose it's all relative. Gone in 60 seconds, remove entirely. I challenge that. In order to remove this thing, there's actually these little screws here that are in here, and they're little tiny Allen heads, so you have to get an Allen key out and pull these things out. That's what keeps these covers or this thing engaged. So to get it all taken apart, to pull off panel by panel by panel, you would have to actually remove each one of these Allens. If you don't do that, yes, theoretically, you could come in here, open it all up, and then remove that all as one piece. But that's going to be pretty darn heavy and difficult to get off without 2 people. That's going to be quite the process. So I'm going to say you could probably still remove this thing pretty darn quickly, but I think it's going to take you more than 60 seconds, probably 10-15 minutes to pull that thing off realistically, and then probably about 10-15 minutes to put it back on again. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's something that I don't think is going to be that easy. But that's also part of the trade-off when you go to a more secure cover. It's going to be more difficult to get off. That's the whole idea of how it makes it more secure. I do really like this slider. So you bump it and you can slide it to any position. And they basically say that you don't lose any bed. But that's not, I personally wouldn't agree with that, because you are losing this much space. You have a panel that's 2 feet in length, so you couldn't just pull a 4-wheeler in here without pulling that cover off. Now, I was honestly always thinking that this 2-part tailgate from GM was totally gimmick nonsense, but when I did all of the shelving in the garage here and I was able to keep the tonneau cover closed, have a 4x8 sheet of plywood sticking out with also 10-footers of lumber out of the rear, and never even having to monkey with the tonneau cover and not have to deal with straps. This is legit. Don't care what you say. If you don't think that it is because you've never owned one, it only takes using it once to go, man, that's pretty great. You know, the slider on here, it moves pretty freely. You know, rolling it up, you can move this back and forth to any location on the bed that you want, and it does lock in there. They also have another pin here that's conveniently stowed away right here. So if you're gonna transport like that, you can pop this pin in here, and that will just help keep both sides locked in where they're at. And then the only other thing I found interesting, which I wonder if this is a early release version of the cover, these little clips here, or these little nubs, which are used to be kind of like standoffs, appear to be 3D printed, which I'm all for 3D printing, but at this price point of a cover, all of this stuff is you know, metal, and then this right here is a 3D printed plastic. It'd be nice if that was matching the same materials that were in you know, the hardware there. Again, that's pretty nitpicky, but hopefully maybe eventually that is what that is. Maybe that was, like I said, just an early kind of prototype on these covers in their early stage of life. Now, you do have some tie downs here also. All of the hardware they are saying is 316 stainless steel. So you've got some areas here where you can ratchet strap some things down. I'm not sure that these would be the straps that I would use. I mean, if you're just trying to consolidate, check out, and get it all at the same place, fine. But there's a ton of different kinds of ratchet straps you can use. And this cover, they say, can hold 400 pounds. We are going to test this right now. I have not tried it yet. I guess if I fall through this thing, it'll be great for views. I mean, it has flex in it. I certainly wouldn't recommend doing this aside from showing people that you can. I weigh 205 or so pounds. It does hold my weight. I don't think I would jump up and down on it. I did stand on this thing, and I will tell you, I did feel a little bit of bowing. I'm actually going to jump into the edit here because I did not realize that a lot of what I was feeling as I've come back now and watched this footage and zoomed in was a lot of the feeling that I had of movement. It was actually the weather stripping that was moving more than the panel itself. And that's pretty interesting because when I was standing on it, I thought the panels were doing a lot more of the moving. So I just wanted to jump in and say, I think it's actually more robust than what I was feeling when I was standing on it at the time, which is good to know because it was a little bit unnerving feeling those panels moving like that. But it is nice to know that the actual weather stripping creates a little bit of like a shock absorber effect, which is pretty neat to see. I'm not sure who out there is putting things on top of their tonneau cover all the time to the point where that's necessary, but I do have people all the time say, you should do a Diamondback cover. And to those people, there you go. That's Paragon's Diamondback cover. So all in, overall, my opinion on this thing is like, I like it way more. I mean, it's like it's not even the same company that made this product as the last Peragon cover. It was like the last Peragon was fine. It did what it needed to do, but I don't know. I wasn't really in love with it. The BAK X4TS, again, my favorite cover so far that I've ever tested on this channel, which I'll link in the description down below. That I do have affiliates to through Real Truck. This one I do not. But I wouldn't sway anybody away from this Peragon Tectonic. If that's something that you're looking for and you like the look of it and you're looking for something incredibly rugged that nobody's going to be able to break into, there you go. And I would recommend it. It's a pretty awesome cover. I'm going to run with this one for a while. I've got the BAK X4TS sitting on the floor there, which I wasn't sure which one I was going to go with after I filmed this video. But you're going to see this one on the truck for quite some time because I like it. It seems like a pretty solid cover. I do hope, and I haven't asked them yet, that maybe they would ship out another label for the cover because I was kind of bummed that that one didn't stay on there straight when they installed it from the factory, but such is life. Peragon is a U.S. manufacturer, so a huge fan of that as well. Now, this video is not sponsored. Peragon did send me the cover out for the purposes of this review, but I don't have any affiliates with them. I don't have any links, no discount codes. Just a straight-up review of this product, and I wanted to also make mention that I'm working on growing this channel to 100,000 subscribers. It's something that I'm taking very seriously now. I want to continue doing what it is I do here, which is trucks, power sports, motorcycles, side-by-sides, off-road, just kind of all things motorsports, power sports. That's kind of my gig here on YouTube. And I'm looking to grow this channel and get it to where I think with all of the hard work and years of effort that's got into it, that it's time that I make that push. So what I'm trying to say is, if you've appreciated any of this content, if you can throw the channel a subscribe, a like, a share, it would be greatly appreciated. Kind of helps to grow the channel and support the work that I do here, which it's a lot, but I love it and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I thank you for your support.